This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we mark decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July. For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms, and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us. So he did that there and was very straightforward, very open, very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8-inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And he talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to the body, due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed. He said another limitation Another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy.
Come on.
He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from our call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson. In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back because, again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to note that there's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell would be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water, this is important. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolan Wells, at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death.
But we don't have
He
his
said,
we don't have his throat.
Definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out, and let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, where's there water in the airway? Remember, we talked about the lungs and the airways where they fill with water. Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhaging? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number six was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents? He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number 7, what are the toxicology report findings? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. He says the above opinions are expressed to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026. And we know that, as I said, this is only another part of the puzzle. And even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. And we will continue to press forward and persist, Christine and Elmore, with getting the answers to these questions. Because as you, yes.
Peace to the family. Peace to my comrades. Unfortunately, I thought that this morning we would have gotten a lot more answers about what has taken place. But basically, what we just heard from attorney Benjamin Crump is what many of us have already felt. Salute to all my family in the building. Come on in, press that like button. Um, StreamYard, give me something a little mellow. So, fam, it's exactly what we thought. This is nothing more than a Kendrick Johnson 2.0. Kendrick Johnson was unalive in his high school in Valdosta, Georgia. They said that he basically rolled himself up in a wrestling mat, hit his own head, and bled out. This is what they told us many years ago in Georgia. After a second autopsy was done, after an independent investigation was done, we found out that Kendrick Johnson was hit in the back of the head. We found out that a taser was used on his body. We found out that certain body parts were removed and never put back into the body. Never, never put in a position where a second pathologist could look at it and see, okay, well, this is what happened to the brain. This is what happened to the lung. So all of these racist Peckerwoods who have been on Facebook, who have been all over social media, who were saying, well, it's easy. It's going to show that it was water in his lungs and it was an accidental drowning. Well, this is what we just found out, family. We found out answers that we didn't know before is, number 1, Nolan Wells' body was found fully clothed. Let me say it again. Nolan Wells' body was found fully clothed. So this idea that he jumped in the water by himself at some point or swim is a lie. That young man did not jump into the water fully clothed, leaving his phone and wallet on the boat at a different time, fam. It just didn't happen like that. And you all know it. And you damn devils know it. Let me tell you something, fam. His throat is missing. How convenient. Pieces of his lungs are missing. How convenient. Pieces of his brain are missing. How convenient. A red laceration behind the back of his head is clear. Now listen, even with his body being disformed, even with his body being in that salt water, it was still able to see. They were still able to see that mark on the back of his head. Now check this out. Just because it doesn't fracture your skull, let me ask you something, family. This is a boxing channel, right? Does it take your skull to have a laceration on it for you to be knocked out? Think about it. Do I have to actually create a laceration on your structural bone for me to knock you out unconscious? So if there is a red mark that goes across the whole back of your head around your cerebral spinal area, come on, fam. Come on, fam. Now, I already know many of these devils and many of these jiggacoons are going to run around. Let me say this, fam. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate what has happened to this brother. And I honestly believe that many of them are going to try to cover this up in Mississippi. Brothers and sisters with black children, listen to me. With young children, young adult children, listen to me. The same conversation that you have with your children about the dangers of them running around with Ray Ray and Junebug, the dangers of them being unalived at a house party, the dangers of them getting the wrong woman pregnant. We've had those conversations with those sons, haven't we? We have to start having these same conversations with them about the threat to their safety and their health going off with the wrong people. Going off where they're the only one in the room and not knowing when to leave. You see, I got to say this, fam. And strength to that family. But when Nolan got into an argument with whoever it was that we have on video, now see, I find it interesting that these bigots and these coons around us, these jiggacoons around us, will make these excuses, but you don't think it's no correlation between two fights happening, him coming up unalive in the water, fully clothed, bruised up in the back of his head, his throat is missing, his throat was not even sent to DC. That is enough for arrest to be made. That is enough for a grand jury indictment. Stop sending your children out there. Have the same caution that you have with trying to keep them from harm of your own brothers and sisters. We have these conversations. Don't talk to strangers. Don't join a gang. Leave the party with who you came with. But see, the problem is you all don't know when to leave. When Nolan got in that first argument earlier that day, Nolan was supposed to leave. Nolan was supposed to call his dad and say, "Hey, Pops, come get me. Dad, come get me." Or somebody he can trust. "Hey, bro, come get me." Because what happened is, all we know is, later on that evening, some drinking happened, and we know Nolan is gone. And this is a clear cover-up. What do you mean you lost his throat? Now, the easiest thing would have been, okay, was his lungs full of water? The first autopsy doesn't make it clear. Not only that, now the second autopsy, if there was anything in the lungs, is not there anymore. And the first autopsy doesn't make it clear that he drowned and his lungs was full of water. And you mean to tell me his throat is missing? You all know I can crush your trachea without causing bruising to the skin, right? You know you can cause blunt force trauma to the trachea without causing enough bruising to the skin where you can see it clearly. The body's been in salt water for at least 24 hours. But if we get the throat, we can look at the throat and we can see what's going on. So ribs were removed. And if you know there's going to be another autopsy, if you know it's going to DC to be looked at again, why would you not make damn sure that every body part is back with the body? Why would you not have in your notes what was going on with the brain? Why did they remove the brain of Kendrick Johnson and never and then put it back? They stuffed it with newspaper. They stuffed his body with newspaper. Because you cannot hide a swollen brain. If that brain swells up and that body dies, that brain will be swelled. That brain will be swollen in the skull until the body decomposes. Whatever part of the brain. And you telling me that piece is missing? Come on, family. This is horrible. And it looks like this is going to be covered up, fam. Brothers and sisters, I wish not to start your mornings off like this. This is a tough conversation that we have to have as the adults. This is a tough conversation that we have to have as parents, as men. This ain't no simple cover-up. Now watch this. The same parents that's telling you little Ray Ray's gonna be safe with us, these same parents, I guarantee, had their hand in covering this up. How do I know? Somebody was smart enough to say, no, don't remove his clothes. Don't remove his clothes. Keep his clothes on him. The more we remove on him, the more clues is left over. The more evidence is left over. Keep him clothed and just dump him. Well, this wasn't just no kids covering up. They too stupid. Some adults had their hands in this. Now you think about that. You think about that. Some of you brothers that come on these panels, well, coach, man, I had a coach that was, coach, I did business with this guy, and being a pacifier for devils, being a pacifier for racist bigots. And you got people like Shakur talking about, I want my daughter to play with T.O.'s son. If you don't take heed to the warning that our ancestors have given us, you are going to pay a heavy price. And sometimes that price will be paid in blood. This is horrible. This is horrible. And I know the father is now even more infuriated. I know the mother probably feels even more hopeless, because now you see this was an effort to cover up what happened to this young man. Them boys know what happened to his throat. They know why his throat is missing. Them boys know how he got that hit on the back of his head. Family, y'all be safe out there. Our women and children are coming up missing and hung all over as I speak. And this ain't nothing but a Kendrick Johnson 2.0. Peace to the family. Peace to my comrades. And as always, smoke to the COINTEL Pro Boxing fan. All praise is due to the Most High.